I think with that, we're started. We're going. Oh my God. Back at it. The gang, the Buddy and Cop team that you guys love to go to the movie theater and support. Well, guess what? They're here in podcast form. One
Did you say the Bunny and Cop?
The Buddy and Cop.
Cop butt eating?
Buddy. Buddy Cop.
I like both my versions better.
I do too. Those are actually things that you would find in somebody's history. I'm Al Jackson. That lovely person over there is Corinne Kaplan. Corinne, how are you?
Oh, I am good. I'd like to kick this off with just a small tale of what happened to me last night.
Okay, well, first we should kick it off with the title of the show.
Oh,
welcome to My Safe Word is More. Corinne, continue.
Yeah, my safe word is more and I need more sleep. Okay, so just to set the stage for everyone, I take Ambien every night. I've been doing it for 20 years. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. I will tell you the stories either way, but the reality is I'm never getting off Ambien. Ambien is what happens in between while life is making other plans, right? So,
by the way, I feel like you should be yelling at the cops and your parents as they try and take you out of your room.
Yeah.
I'm never getting off, so I'll be back in 72 hours.
I mean, I can't even tell you how many clinicians that they're like, I'd love for you to try trazodone, try something else, try and get off Ambien. I'm like, oh, you know what I'm going to try? A different primary care doctor. So, So, all right. So I took Ambien, as I do. And to give you an idea of what happens when I'm on Ambien is I know my limitations. So like my phone goes on airplane mode. I don't have anything in my home besides condiments and hard-boiled eggs. There is no option for me.
I thought you were going to say condoms. And you kept going with the
I just raw dogged
dements. There you go.
No, I definitely have condoms. Actually, quick on the condom story. I only keep magnums because I believe if you build it, they will come. And so I have no interest in keeping the tinies around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you should be more inclusive with your condom.
No, I refuse. No.
You don't want the United Nations in there? Okay.
If the big boy doesn't fit you, there's the door.
There we go.
I kid. But anyways, okay, so I don't keep anything in my house that I could eat because I can't even tell you how many times gotten sick because I don't have anything sweet and I want something sweet. So I've eaten all the gummy bears in the gummy vitamin thing, right? And then I get violently ill.
Wow.
This has happened on multiple occasions. I actually almost asphyxiated because I was trying to eat the Parmesan cheese out of the green can, and I took a deep breath and all the cheese went into my lungs. And I was like, this is how I die.
That's like the cinnamon challenge, but for cheese.
Yes.
That's exactly why people were asphyxiating with cinnamon. Is it like the little granules get in your throat? Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I've had a lot of problems over the years. So one of my good friends came over shortly before Christmas and he knows that I love elf witches. And so I was like, hey.
Wait, what is that?
I know, I should have
You're
brought it.
talking
It's
to
such
a
an
black
obscure,
man.
I feel like it's a black thing.
Did you think you can come up here and say elf witch?
And
Don't let this jacket fool you, all right?
So they're like little Keebler elves with fudge in the middle. They're like Teddy Grahams, but they're bigger, and they have fudge in the middle. Okay, it's a really weird thing, but they're delicious.
Sounds good.
So I was like, listen, he was coming over. I was like, I'm going to pick up elf witches. I need you to leave with the elf witches. We're going to have like 2, and then when you leave, you take the elf witches. All good. Fine. Great. Wonderful. Well, he leaves. I then send him a text message like, I just want to thank you for taking the elf witches. And he's like, I didn't. I hid them. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And like, I have like a lot of nooks and crannies in my house. I was like, if he was smart, he took a stepladder and put it somewhere out of my view.
A stepladder?
Yeah.
Is this Home Alone?
Or just take them fucking with you like I asked.
Swing a paint can with the elf witches in it?
So I'm like, okay, whatever. I hadn't seen them in weeks. I figured they were well hidden. So I came back from my trip. I take my Ambien. I'm unpacking. And I get to my suitcase yesterday and something rolls under my couch. I go to grab it. The elf witches. I make contact with the elf witches.
So he just hid him under the bed?
Under the living room couch, yes. Not a good hiding spot.
The only place bugs live.
I was going to say, it feels like you're asking for problems on the floor. All right, so I'm like, oh my God, I won the lottery. Like, there's so many elf witches left.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So, side note, I have like a huge problem lately as I've gotten older with caffeine. Like, I cannot have caffeine. I don't drink it at all. And like, I won't even fuck with like a decaf coffee after like 9 a.m. because there's enough caffeine in that to set me off.
Wait, what are we talking about when this caffeine takes hold?
Well, you'll see.
CK.
We're gonna loop it. Oh, because I am a river of anxiety, and as you now know, like I have to take something to go to sleep. I don't have unassisted sleep ever, right? So yesterday I took fucking an edible. I took an Ambien. I had a glass of mezcal. Like I have to be.
We call that the full
sedated.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So I don't want anything to derail that. So no caffeine.
Right.
All right. Well, all right. So now I start in with these elf witches, and first I'm like, I'm just gonna have 2, and they're not good for you. Okay, they're high in calories, and like I am like somebody that cares about that. I have 2, and then I'm like, well, I really wanted them double stuffed. These aren't double stuffed. So now I start making my own double stuffed.
You're doing elf witch math.
I am. I totally am. I am now, I don't know, probably 10 double stuffed elf witches in, and I decide they have to go in the fucking garbage can.
You need to say that again. 10?
10.
Double stuffed.
That's like yes, and that's not even including like the first 2 I opened with, because I didn't count those because they weren't double stuffed. So
those were the opening acts.
I started like ripping them apart and then taking the side with the fudge and then matching it with another one with the side with the fudge, and I was like, this counts as 1. I mean, exactly, elf witch math. So after I am disgusted with myself, and I really don't remember much. I remember throwing the elf witches out, and then I remember like a raccoon going back to the trash, and I was like, no! So I went and I have like a frozen thing of mussels that I was defrosting in the refrigerator. And so I dumped all the disgusting...
nice life you live.
I dumped all the disgusting mussel excess juice onto the elf witches, because I was like, you're not going to touch them if they're all fucking muscly. So I
stopped. You did what bullies in the 3rd grade do. Like, oh, do you want that Twix? And then they put it under their arm and in their crotch.
There was still a chance I was going to dig through and find a dry one, you know? I'm so pathetic. So then I go to sleep. But did I sleep? No, Al, I did not. Because the chocolate had enough caffeine in it that I was 100%. I'm not talking fell asleep, woke up. I Fight Clubbed it all night. I never went to sleep.
That's
no
bad.
sleep. Yeah, I ended up going to the gym at like 4:15 in the morning because I was just bored. Yeah. So that's what happened to me last night.
And people at the gym looked at you like, look how dedicated she is, 4:15 in the morning. And she's like, no, I was up eating sad woman sandwiches and I over-caffeinated myself, as you do.
Yeah. And I was exhausted and I didn't want to be there and it was fucking cold and dark. And I was like, you shouldn't have eaten all those alphages.
Honestly,
take it up a notch.
We joke around a lot, but I respect you. You get your ass up in the morning, you go to the gym, like, respect. I need some of that. Because I'll get up and I'll do like a half an hour on the bike and I'm like, oh, whatever.
It's just so fucking boring.
Yeah.
It's just the boredom. That's really, I mean, like, I'm tired of trying to create new playlists. I've already gone through all the podcasts. Like, I was on a plane. I was in a 10-hour car ride. I already went through I was all caught up on my podcast.
Right.
There was nothing for me to do this morning.
Except for my safe word is more. You can always listen to this over and over again.
Yes.
A little self-promotion.
Yeah.
All right. So
now I need to hear you performed on New Year's Eve. If y'all don't know, he is a touring stand-up comic, which is like the most impressive thing in the world to me.
Really?
Oh God, I just want to collect comedian friends. Like I feel like you're born special.
The comics that I hang with, I'm like, I can't believe how interesting this person is. It's a weird group of people. Because I feel like you can't be like a nerd in high school, but you definitely can't be cool. I feel like you need to hover.
Have some trauma.
Right. Yeah. Some trauma's got to be built in there. But it's like, don't worry. Everybody's got that. But comics, I think maybe something extra bad happened. But like we figured a way to get around trauma. And it's just like by mocking it all the time, immediately. And that's why like when some comic tweets something too soon, I get it. I'm not backing anybody up, but I get it. Like, that's the way that we defend ourselves. We don't break down. We're just like, here's a joke. And sometimes it's received well, sometimes it's not. But whatever. I'm at 45 years old. I'm like, this is who I am. I'm so happy, Corinne. Like, it's so relaxing when you're just like, this is it. This is how I'm going to roll. So I'm good. But, yes, it was super well. It sold great, which is good because I was terrible on social media with it. But almost sold out the first show, sold out the second show.
In Ann Arbor, right?
In Ann Arbor, Michigan. The same day that they lost to TCU in the prelude to the national championship. And I know that you don't care about that.
No.
But the entire town.
Did?
The whole town. Like Friday Night Lights it. Like that's all they do is watch that team. And so like I wasn't sure how it would be attended, but everybody was happy. New Year's, usually people are hammered.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, like you can't believe how they got in here, and you expect them to be better in an hour and a half. But, shows were dope. And I just the overall holiday season was good. But I have something that I wanted to give to you. And this is a podcast, so you're going to have to explain it to the people, and I'll give you a little background on it. I received this in the mail. It came in a box that, like an Amazon, if you ordered maybe like maybe like a broom, it would be like in a box like that. But it was super light and long, and I was like, what is this, and what did I order? And I look, and it's just my name, but I don't know who sent it. So I'm going to hand this to you now.
Okay.
And you just tell people what you're holding. Get settled.
I don't understand.
Okay. All right. Say that into the microphone, please. Yes.
Okay. So there's a picture of Al and then a white middle-aged man. Should I know who this is?
No.
Oh.
Here's another question. Should I know who that is?
Oh my God, wait. So I thought maybe this is like, I don't know, like Conan O'Brien or like somebody like, okay, there's also wrapping paper. This is wild.
Okay.
This is really crazy.
Just please tell people if they're still not getting it, because I still don't really get it.
So this is like an Andy Warhol situation. It's a framed picture where there's 2 of Al and 2 of middle-aged white guy. And then I'm holding wrapping paper.
That's wrapped.
Yeah.
It's like wrapped like you would buy it at Michael's or something.
Yeah. I had no idea.
This will be on the Instagram.
This is incredible. Who is this gentleman?
Corinne, I don't know who that is.
I mean, I got news. First of all, it's very Michael Scott on The Office when he puts himself in her holiday card photos, like with her kids. Yeah. Like that's a move. Like on Christmas, if you send somebody.
I just, if they're listening, which I assume that they are.
I
assume that you might be listening to a lot of the stuff that I do, which I appreciate. I'm not hating. I just don't know who you are to thank you. But yes, it was just a framed photo of almost like the Obama change filter. Yes. And in the 4 squares, he and I alternating.
This gentleman, it's not like this is some like 20-year-old girl or like, this is like, he looks like a established guy. Maybe he runs HR for a tech company.
He does,
you know.
Yeah. He
looks like a guy that's wasting his time on this kind of stuff.
He looks like a regional manager for Outback Steakhouses in the Northwest.
Yeah.
He flies there and he just kind of hates it, but he stays in the same hotel, same room. Mm-hmm. And just like a guy that's just trudging through life, but also was like, you know what? Me and Al need to be cemented together for life.
I got news for you. You know what he has? An Ambien problem.
Oh.
This is an Ambien order if I've ever seen one.
Corinne, I definitely saw you look at that and you were like, I know where this came from.
I can see myself doing this.
Yes. Yeah. And you've done some interesting things on Ambien. So yes, that's my that was one of the best gifts that I got, besides the fact that my youngest son, who's on the spectrum, my ex-wife was like, he just picked your gift out. I was like, tell me you did not help him. And she was like, absolutely not. I would never do that. Oh. And I opened up my gift for Christmas, and baby Bradford, he got me a sun-kissed. Just
one sun-kissed?
Just one sun-kissed. And it's wrapped with a bow, and I love it. And then he drank it.
Oh, wow. That is the most aggressive move of all time. It really was.
That's what you would do in prison.
Yeah.
So, what was the best gift you got over the break?
Oh, well, I don't really get gifts for the holiday. I'm trying to think. My friend owns a yoga studio, and he was like, go in and pick out anything you want. And I picked out this sweatshirt. He actually didn't. He pulled your son. He was like, I was like, ooh, this tank top or this like crop. He goes, no, that sweatshirt. And I was like, that's like not, it's not, like, I was like, it's not cute.
Year-end clearance sweatshirt.
I was like, why are you, like, it's a unisex sweatshirt. Like, it's not, I was thinking about all the ways I'd have to cut it up to make it cute. And I didn't take that shit off. I was with him for like 10 days. I wore this goddamn sweatshirt. I wore it skiing, then I wore it to bed, it's the most comfortable sweatshirt I have ever put on my body.
Wow. All right. Homeboy came through.
Yes, it was a good gift.
All right.
What about, so you got the sun kiss. You want to know something interesting? When I was a kid, I had, my dad's dad was just an absolute piece of shit. He was just like a bad dude. Right. And, but like when we were kids, we would see him a couple times a year, but he just absolutely hated me. He doesn't like women in general, and he just like didn't like me, which honestly I respect. I don't like a lot of children, and I wish I could be more vocal about it.
Did you pick that vibe up as a kid?
Yes, and I'll tell you, it's not like I picked it up. This is what happened. Every year for Hanukkah, he would send very obvious differences in gift. For example, he would send a card with $100, a C note for my brother, and he would send 3 single bills to me.
No.
$3. Yes. Like, I had no shame. He sent my brother one year, one of these, like, my brother was into baseball. You pitch at it and it, like, throws the ball back at you. It was like a pitching situation. And he sent me a can of used tennis balls.
I believe it's called pitch and catch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. That. And he sent me a can of used tennis balls, like you'd give to a dog. They had no bounce left in them. Like, the can was already pre-opened, and there's just 3 tennis balls inside that are flat. And at that point, my mom's like, here's the thing. You don't need to see this fucking guy anymore. You don't need to.
What age did your mom have that conversation with you? Because that's a big deal as a parent when you're like, you need to know that in this world, there are just some people that are inexplicably mean for no reason.
Yeah.
And we need to stop. That's not your grandfather anymore. He's just a douche.
And my brother was like, well, I'm fine with him. And my mom's like, go ahead,
Yeah.
So he would come to my brother's baseball games. I had nothing to do with him.
It seemed like that. You know what's interesting about hearing you tell that story, and you tell it with humor, and it's just a reality. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But that same story is the same thing that would land somebody else in therapy for 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't he like me? I tried to be a good granddad. Nah. It's just so interesting how different people respond to different stimuli. Because you're like, all right, dude, thanks for the heads up, so I don't have to waste my time anymore.
I mean, I was probably 11, and my mom was like, so you don't have to fuck with him anymore. Obviously, he doesn't like you. You don't like him. No one's going to make you go see him. And I was like, cool, we're done here.
That is strange. How is he with your dad?
My dad felt like he had to, like, kind of keep, I mean, he wasn't mean to he was a terrible father to my dad, like, when they were growing up. Like, he was awful. Like, this is just a story to epitomize, not to be bummer central, but it's just, like, interesting to hear where
real
people
life.
come from.
This is what we do, baby.
Yeah. So when my dad was a kid, he was he really was saving up all summer for a guitar he wanted to buy. And so my grandfather was like, you can work. My grandfather was a shoe salesman, and he's like, you can work at the shoe store all summer long, and I'll pay you like 5 cents an hour, whatever. It was like, garbage amount of money. But he's like, you'll save up enough to get this guitar. So the whole summer, my dad, all his friends are out playing. He, like, breaks his back, works all summer long for my grandfather. At the end of the summer, he's got this shoebox under his bed that he's adding the money to, and he's got enough for the guitar. Goes out for the day, does whatever, comes back, and the box is gone. And my grandfather claims it was stolen. He took the fucking money back.
Oh.
Uh-huh. And my dad doesn't see a therapist. You see, we tough. East and Black.
Hey, look, I respect that. As a parent, I wrestle. I can't speak of other parents.
With stealing from your kid?
Yeah, with that too. Because sometimes, like, first of all, you're not a real parent until you get high, eat all their fruit snacks, and then in the morning when they ask about it, you act like you don't know what they're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Like, I thought we did have a full box. I don't know. Let's get on that. But yeah, I mean, when do you tell your kid? It's almost like when you're, as a black man, when your kid does a report on Martin Luther King, it's like, yeah, that's great, but now you got to explain to him what racism is, and like and it's like, do I want to do that with an 8-year-old, or do I want to give him one more day where he doesn't know what this planet is? You know, like, I'm like, it's almost like the Matrix. Like, you live the fake life for as long as you can. Mm-hmm. You'll know. But I respect it, like, early on, 11, 12, especially as a young woman that's obviously not of age, but 80% of dudes that are gross don't care. Mm-hmm. So as somebody used to walk around with his sister who developed early, and I remember being a young dude and being like, what are those old men yelling at my sister? Like, I couldn't even process, because I just thought adults were, like, on this tier. Right. I didn't know they were just scumbag dudes hanging in front of a corner store. And I'm just like, those are grown-ups. Well done, fellas. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I don't know. I think that's kind of what makes you so, and you only refer to women as headstrong, but just, you have to be headstrong like a battleship to be a woman with personality, and a type A personality at that, to make it through this world, and like where you've gone, with everybody just being like, whatever. Everybody wants to dismiss you as like a pretty face or a loudmouth, a troublemaker, whatever. And you just, it all bounces off of you. That's like an X-Man superpower, dog. Like, bigger than claws coming out of your hand. Mm. Have you thought about that?
No, but I do know, like, I have, I'm mentally very tough. Obviously, I know that from having done Survivor. I watched everyone crumbling around me, and I was like, what is the big, so you won't eat for a few days? Like, get it together.
Wow.
But, yeah. I will tell you,
pretty
the only
gangster.
time my parents ever stole something from me, I like this story because my mother just has no shame. She believes, okay, I don't know if this is a Jewish thing or what, but she believes wholeheartedly, which it's not just a Jewish thing. I mean, I think everyone knows this at this point, but like stuffed animals are gross and like they're dust mite riddled. And like, so my mom, when we were kids, because in Florida, I don't know why, but every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's garage sales galore. They're everywhere and they're fun. And my mother, we were not allowed to touch any stuffed animal at a garage sale. We were never allowed to eat anything at a bake sale because it was cooked in someone's house and you don't know, like they were very strict about these things. So we go, my parents take us to Las Vegas, we're kids, and we go to Circus, and I'm fucking geeking out.
Yeah.
And I'm winning all these massive stuffed animals that require like multiple trash bags, like, the big ones. And I knew, my mom doesn't like stuffed animals, and these were like human-sized stuffed animals.
These are not coming home.
We get off the plane. Oh, they were lost. They didn't make it. And like, I knew at that point, like, there's no point in crying. You ain't gonna see that bunny again. Like, no, this is what it is. I was not blaming the airline on that. I don't think it ever made the flight.
Southwest had nothing to do with that.
No.
It honestly, the way that your parents did that is the same way that the mafia, when they have to tell somebody else in the mafia that they executed a hit, but they might be on tape, so they just have to be like, Corinne's, she's not gonna make the trip.
Yeah.
Is she late? She's not gonna be here.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about her anymore. She's not gonna make any trips. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yes. It was a very quick conversation. I understood that there was not going to be an addendum to that. Yeah.
That
so
makes me happy. And that's kind of why you're here and why you've made it as far as you did, because you were able to, again, how many people would be in their therapist's office and the therapist is looking at the clock, milking it like, let's go back to the bear.
Yeah.
Do you think
How
that
did
that
you
bear
feel?
represented your childhood that was left in Vegas? Do you think that's why you like to go to Vegas and rip it up? Are you looking for your teddy bear on the dance floor?
It might be why I hate Vegas.
Yeah, it's not. Why do you hate Vegas? I want to have a little chit chat about this.
Well, I cover it and I have covered it for many years, and like I've just had to be there during the day so much that I find anything outside of 24 hours with a perfect VIP situation like insufferable. I've had to go to the Orange Theory in Vegas. Like I've had to like live like a week, a month in Vegas, and it's just awful.
Yeah.
Brutal. The traffic is terrible. It's
I'm just listening to somebody and I'm like, finally somebody that gets me.
It's
I
such
felt guilty
amateur
because I
hour.
felt like I was supposed to.
No.
But I'm like, I would never hang with these people.
No.
You're drinking out of a plastic thing
Yard.
that's shaped like a sword from a pirate ship.
Yeah.
You're 43.
Yeah.
You're drinking a blue aqua. Like, bro, when I used to drink, and I say this on stage, and it's funny because I say it because I know people hate it, but I didn't drink White Claws and like all that kind. I'm old school. We're going to have some vodka, and we're going to drink it until we're done.
Yeah.
We're going to sit here. We're going to finish this. We're not going to be playing beach volleyball and being sexy with our 8-pack abs. We're alcoholics that party. So let's get on it, and let's remember who we are. I went out on my shield like Braveheart. I'm like, yo, no fizzy drinks. So it is kind of amateur hour. I feel like, I don't know.
That and like
I'm old.
For the most part, like especially like coming up in New York and LA, like I respect a place that is impossible to get into, and that's just not the case. They're so massive, the nightclubs there, that like yes, there's a Gen Pop area that like anybody with enough money to either buy a bottle or buy the entrance fee or whatever can get in, and then there's a VIP. But like I still have to mingle with those people when I'm coming in and out, and I don't.
If there's 600 people up there, is it really VIP?
Correct. Exactly.
Is it?
No, it's not. And I mean, again, I look, this is not a popular opinion, but like I think VIP in the club system should be entirely based on looks and money, and that's it. No uggos up in the club. You can put them in the regular places. They can go to a dive bar.
Well, if you're an uggo that's got dough,
then that's the exception.
Yeah.
But then you have to buy your way in with bottle service. But in Vegas, it's really just the middle of the DMV. It's a lot of 4s and 5s at best.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like the really hot people, to which I am not one, if they are in Vegas, they're like in a suite kicking it, like with
Yes.
2 ambassadors' kids. Like they're not anywhere where me, a dude from Cleveland, like, excuse me, would you like to? And they're like, no, Doug. Like I just think VIP is like something that has been put upon the masses. But honestly, like the real VIPs aren't even in that area. They came in the back of the club through the kitchen, through the manager's office, and then they're in a room that's soundproofed where they can look out over the dance floor. But they're not like near us in the VIP. So anyway, I'm just saying this is a dude that doesn't dance anymore. I think that's part of it too. I think we're all done there.
So you went through New Year's without drinking, obviously.
I did.
Yeah, and so as people were getting progressively more sloppy around you, that didn't annoy you?
I ran after I was.
You didn't do a little meet and greet, sell some merch?
No, Corinne, we got to talk about that on and off the air. I think that it's without a doubt now that I am developing some kind of not a phobia, but I just want to be back in my room when I'm off stage, and I don't know what that is. I used to hang out, Corinne, all night.
It's just age because I ponied up I did, Christmas Day brunch at the Four Seasons here. Then the very next morning, I got on the early ass first flight out, flew into LA, took a 5-hour car trip to Mammoth, spent several days in Mammoth, then came back down, spent some time in Manhattan Beach, went out and it was at certain points I was like, I need to not be around people. I need to I have and I used to be somebody that was 100% of the time had plans. Like I was never alone ever, but now I'm alone so often that it's hard for me to be in other people's space for so long. It was good because obviously they were my good friends. But okay, but since I have this question was asked of you, so this is from Travis.
All right, Travis.
He said, so he was asking in the Facebook group, anyone in here sober? Because I just hit 1 year, but I'm curious about 1, if it gets easier because it fucking sucks. And 2, what do you do instead to make it not hard? And I feel this from my soul. So I am very lucky. I don't have addictive tendencies for the most part. So it wouldn't make a difference, if I never drank again but I don't have a lot of fun when I'm not drinking. And life is kind of boring. And I feel the same way. Okay, well, what am I going to go? I'm going to go out to a Hollywood nightclub and then what am I going to do with myself?
Right.
And everyone around me is getting progressively drunker. So that is something I don't understand. And then I wanted to see what your advice on that was.
Well, first of all, shout out to you for 1 year. When I just hit 3 years this past December 19th. But I'm just sober from alcohol. There are other natural substances that I indulge in. And
he likes bath salts, guys.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wants to feel like
a little crocodile in here. A little angel dust, if you will. Mm-hmm. But, when the pandemic first hit, I'd already been sober for almost a year at that point, maybe about 8 months. And people started reaching out to me from different parts of my life. And by the end of it, there were 8 people on a Zoom call that was helping get sober, which I never was on Facebook, reach out. But so many people that kind of want to get sober see you do it, and they just kind of sidle up to you hey, how'd you do that, dog? Mm-hmm. So I was in different races, genders, way different age demos. It's crazy. The spectrum is everyone. And what I noticed in those calls is that there's a couple different kinds of people that get sober, but there's really 2 main ones. One are like me, where you're I woke up, I was never again. Thank God I'm done with this. Put my arms in the air like Rocky at the top of them steps, and I was done. Never. I could be a bartender. I'd take a bath in vodka. I just don't want it anymore. The other side of that coin is much more difficult. The people that stopped drinking because they had to for, to stay, court reasons, which I know them. And I know, people that just their spouse or their friends or their kids or their job was hey, brah, you got 1 more of those, DUI, whatever. And when you still want something, your body is almost in tune to make you fixate on it. Even more than if you could still drink, but you broke your leg or something, couldn't get out of the hospital. You wouldn't be thinking about drinking that much. But because you feel great, You're like, I want to drink, but you know you can't. So now you want to drink more.
Yeah.
And what I'll tell Trevor is Travis. Damn it, Travis. What I would tell Travis is this, man. You have to do one or two things. One, if you're going to choose to hang out with the same group of people, you need to do what I do. Get there early, shake hands, have fun, see if there's anybody you're interested in pursuing, depending on where you're going, looking for girls, or if you're just going to go hang with the homies. Don't be antisocial. If y'all are going to meet up at 9:30, get there at 9:30, hang out till 9:55 and roll out, because you're just going to tease yourself being there, and your friends are going to get more drunk and more annoying, and you're not going to like that. And honestly, what the real advice is you're going to have to change your habits. You're going to have to find something else to do, because the thing, you don't like going to the bar because you like sitting in a room with SportsCenter on in the corner.
Right.
You like going to the bar
Social
because
aspect.
you get, social and drunk. But you're if you don't want to interact with drunk people, which most sober people lose the patience for, you got to find something else to do. And that's good and bad, because, yes, it's going to push you out of your comfort zone. But guess what, dude? During the day,
you shine.
You can shine. And guess who's out during the day? A lot of people like Corinne, people that are into being in shape, people that are into doing yoga, people that are into, working, doing, I do Soul Cycle and then I hike. There's other ways to entertain yourself. And as somebody like myself that was all nightlife for almost 20 years, I didn't realize that there was a whole other half of life. Like, there's still dope stuff to do during the day that I used to think was corny, but it was just because I just never experienced it.
You were too hungover to do it?
Yeah, I was like, who?
I think the biggest thing for me so I personally much prefer not to date someone that's sober, because I think part of drinking is drinking with someone. Now, it doesn't mean that I have an ex here who has to be sober from time to time. And
so he really doesn't have to be.
But I would say that one of the biggest criteria for me is, like, you are fine. I bring a bottle of alcohol, or I have a drink here. Like, you're fine to be around it. But it's the people that also can't be, this is a poor example, but I have dated a lot of Mormons in my life. And I dated this Mormon guy. I didn't know he was Mormon when I met him. And then I went to Newport Beach for our first date. He takes me to, like, a pizza parlor, which is a fucking terrible date. But I was already an hour and a half from my house.
It's not a sexy food.
No. But anyways, we sit down and the waitress comes over and I was just like, I'll take your shitty red wine at this pizza fucking place. And he was like, ooh, could you not? And I was like,
ooh.
No, I'm actually going to go ahead and get that wine. And he's like, well, I'm religious and I don't drink. I was like, cool, good for you. I'm not, and I do.
You guys are having this conversation at the table?
Yeah, I was like, and this date's going, like, in my head, I'm like, I'm already stuck down here. It was, Newport Beach is like a fair distance from Hollywood.
It's far, especially with traffic.
Yeah, I mean, this is the beginning of the whole problem. So this guy, I'll try and tell the story succinctly. So this guy was the most beautiful man. So I was at a club that doesn't exist anymore called Bardot, which we renamed Bardon't. And I was at Bardot, and I was hammered, and I see this fucking goddess. He's like 6'6", like beautiful. And so, of course, like, I'm going to town. Like, I'm making out with him. Nothing about him seemed religious, let's put it that way. Wow. I didn't know he wasn't drinking. We stepped out into Light to exchange numbers, and, like, my sparkle lip gloss was all over this man's face. And so he's like, I'd love to take you out. I was like, please do. I didn't realize how far away he lived. It was like my first year in Hollywood. All right, so he invites me down.
But he was an hour and a half drive good looking.
Yeah. I mean, well, like, when he said Newport Beach, I was like, oh, that's sexy, Newport Beach. But, like, Newport Beach is legitimately in traffic so far from LA, from Hollywood. But I already said yes, and he's like, I want to take you on this boat. And I was like, a boat? Newport Beach? Like, I'm in the money. Yeah. And unfortunately, the boat was a fucking scenic tour with 100 other fucking tourists.
Oh, VIP. Yeah. Just like we were talking about.
Yeah. And they were like, here's one ticket for a Diet Coke. And then afterwards, we go to dinner at this pizza parlor, which is then where I realized that, and again, I have dated a lot of Mormons. I got no problem. You could be whatever you want. I'm a free agent. Sell it to me. So we go for this dinner. I decide to drink wine. He doesn't. And then I'm staying at his place because it's, like, again, like a bit of a hike. And I was always going to stay over, but I didn't understand the intricacies of staying over because I didn't know he was so religious. So when I get over there, first of all, he has no fucking, internal AC. Like, It's hot. It's the middle of the summer.
Yeah, air conditioning. You don't even internal. No, he didn't have any AC.
He didn't have AC. Like,
hard stop.
The windows are open because they're like near the beach, but it is not enough. So he has like a twin bed and he has a roommate. The roommate is in another room, but like we pass each other in the kitchen. And so I go into the bedroom and I'm like, he's like, do you want to watch a movie? And this is before like Netflix and shit. So I'm like looking and I'm like, why does he have like Finding Nemo and then like Stuart Little? I was like, do you have a non-cartoon? And he's like, well, I can't see R-rated. And I was like, oh, this again? So I'm like, all right. Then this really gets bad. So I'm like, it's hot. We're watching this movie. So I start to disrobe and he's like, oh, you can't get undressed. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean? I'm wearing jeans. Like, I'm not going to sleep in these jeans. He's like, let me give you basketball shorts. So he gives me basketball shorts and a shirt. And he's a large man. So this doesn't fit me at all. And I'm just like, aye, with this. So then he says to me, I know, Al, you're really going to like the way this ends. So he says to me, he's like, listen, have you ever had Levi Loving? And I was like, no, I don't know what that is. And he's like, well, it's my understanding that it's better than sex. And I was like, but you haven't had sex. So anyways, it's gyrating.
By the way, that's how you sell people when they've never had sex. You're like, this is better than sex. And they're like, it probably is. Yeah. What do they know?
So it's just dry humping in your jeans, which is why they call it Levi Loving. So he's like, do you want to try it? And I was like, sure, I guess so. So I get on top of him. In seconds later, the party's over.
We're all done.
And he's like, so was it good? I'm like, no, that's not how sex works. Yeah. He's like, most women love it. I was like, who loves this? And also, why are you going to my nightclubs? This was such a bait and switch. All right. So I leave the next morning at like the crack of dawn. I do not say goodbye. I just get in my vehicle and I leave. And that day happened to be, it was a Sunday. And I want to say it was St. Patrick's Day. So all of my friends were meeting at this bar that we go to in LA. So I go home, I change real quick, and I go meet them at the bar. And while we're at the bar, my phone is blowing up. It's him. He's calling. And so I was like, oh, that's so annoying. And so just by like instinct, because the only other social media at the time was Facebook, I go to his Facebook and I see that it says in a relationship. And I was like, oh, he probably got back together with the Mormon girl that he was with for like 10 years. He's with the same girl his whole life. I'm the one, he took a hard right. Obviously, I completely ruined him on regular women. He went back to her. So I was like, why is he calling me? I don't need the fucking letdown. You don't need to tell me that,
you don't need closure.
I'm a dirty whore and, like I've had sex and I drink and we can't do this. So I was like, let me just step outside because he just wouldn't stop calling. I step outside the bar and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, hey, so I was looking at flights to Florida. And I was like, what? And it's like loud and I'm half drunk and I'm like, sorry, what? And he's like, your parents, they live in Florida, right? And I was like, yeah, my parents live in Fort Lauderdale. He's like, okay, well, I was looking for flights. Al, he was in a relationship with me. He thought it was time to meet my parents. Yeah.
Oh, you know what it was? He was ready. He was like, I can't hold off anymore. I need to get at her. And the only way, I also heard that, some Mormons, because Utah does border Nevada, will dip over the border, get married for 72 hours, have at it like two wild animals, and then get it annulled because it's only been a couple days, and then go back to Utah because you did not engage in premarital sex because you guys are not married.
Oh my God, that is
you guys were married when you had the sex, and now you're no longer.
Huh.
Yes.
That is
and you're not divorced either. It's annulled, so it never happened. And, I mean, because look. You can dance around it any way that you want, but I studied biology. We're all human beings. We just know this. You're going to generate sperm and semen and sexual thoughts towards whatever gender, but towards something probably.
Yes.
And in that case, especially if it's a woman such as yourself, you're attractive, you're interesting. I'm sure a guy like you must have blown his world up. And he thought he was doing you the biggest favor by being like, date number 2, meet the parents. Date number 3, we're married.
We marry, yeah.
That's crazy town.
The even weirder part about this is that maybe like 2 years later, he started dating a model that I know, and he married her immediately, and they have like 4 kids now.
Really?
Yeah. But he was it was a bizarre scenario all around. And
any regrets?
On my end, absolutely not. I regret going all the way to Newport Beach. That was a waste of my fucking time.
Do you think he would have been a good husband?
No.
Why not?
I mean, yes, if you're looking for like a loser, like a nice guy that's like not funny particularly, not particularly driven, not particularly smart. He was one of those people, this is my favorite, when they're in that like zone where they should have figured out their career choice. Like they're like 34, let's say, and they're still going, but I think I could do photography. Like,
can't be doing that.
You're 34, living with a roommate, and you know what? Give up on the dream.
Or just
or do it on the side, but don't try and make it as a photographer. Like, just start that.
Figure it out. Get a job. I think that's the problem, Corinne, is that we keep telling everybody, follow your dream. And I know people are like, oh, you followed your dream. Yeah, I was also a middle school teacher. I also worked in a medical lab, which is not my dream, but I was prepared to do both those things for the rest of my life. I happened to start doing stand-up at the behest of nobody. I just started and it changed my life. But I was not going to go through life like, I'm going to be an actor or I'm going to die. Stop with that dramatic. Get a job, get stable, and then all the other stuff. You can do fun stuff around it. Plan your life around your job. Plan your job around your life, whatever. But everybody thinks that they have to like become like Picasso by finding their gift. And like one day I realized I was a sculptor. It's like, probably not.
No.
You're probably not, dude. You just need to go to work and it'll all figure itself out.
Also, I'm not a big fan of like, okay, I bought this camera, so now I'm a photographer. Like, I want to see you hustle, like go take lessons, like practice your craft.
Yeah, it's easier to talk about it, and I think that's the thing that people don't really want to do. Everybody's like, yo, rise and grind, and we gonna hustle out here and baby hustle all day.
And don't have a plan B.
And don't have a plan B. No. First of all, that's crazy.
It's such a bad
What
idea.
If the Marine said that?
Yeah.
We're just gonna land on the beach, and if it's an ambush, then, no plan B. Remember that bumper sticker we read? Like, excuse me, you better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this weird thing, and if you're a young person out there and you're looking for your calling or whatever, stop. We've all been subjected to too much TV and too much drama and like, and then I went on American Idol and won. Probably not. You might finish 112th, and that means there's only 100 better singers than you in the country. You should be proud of that. But now it's time to go get a job, and that's fine too.
I mean, this is the plight of every single person that's ever done Survivor. They're like, oh, they're going to call me back any day now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just a one-hit wonder, man.
And sometimes people will kill for that one hit.
I am like, okay, so I always used to say this in LA, like, I'm not trying to date an up-and-coming whatever. At this age, you should be whatever you are. And if you're not, I'd also like to chase my dream. But I'm not because I'm working. So you know what I'm not going to do is work so you can chase your dream. That would really cause resentment for me.
Yes, yeah. And you know what that is, which I don't know, because usually the dynamic is the male chasing his dream and the woman supporting that. I'm sorry, I've said this before. People don't get it because they don't see it like this, but I peel away the aesthetics and just look at what it is. It's pimping.
Yeah.
When the woman works and brings the money back to you, that's pimping.
Yeah.
Now, your pimp can have on a pink three-piece suit and pink alligator shoes and be in a lime green Mercedes, or your pimp could be a college graduate who's at home becoming a writer.
Yeah.
But what's the difference between that pimp and your aspiring author that just can't, one of these days this guy is going to be an author, the best drummer ever. Why hasn't that happened yet? Couldn't the pimp, doesn't he tell his girls the same thing? Hey, girl, I'm taking you to the top, baby. You keep coming with me. Hey, listen, Coco, let me tell you this, Coco. You make your next move your best move, baby. You know what I'm saying? You're going to barbecue or mildew. What are you going to do now, girl? What's different than that than like, baby, just 6 more months. I'm almost done with the last chapter. And after this, I'm going to pay for everything. It's the same hustle. It's just people don't see it, and you do. And that's why it sounds crazy when you go, yo, I want the finished product. Yeah. I think that's fair. You wouldn't let Amazon send you something that wasn't finished?
When I was 19, I was like, sure, I would date somebody that thought they were going to be a model or this and that. But like when you're in your 30s, no, it's pretty baked in. Like it's not cute then. It's
rare. And I think the bigger issue is that you have a 30-year-old that still thinks that there's like, you're going to make it. Like to what extent? Like you have friends that you think gave up their dream for corporate America. Guess what? They have a 401k.
Yeah.
And they can see retirement in 11 years.
Yeah.
So, there's pros and cons to everything. So I get that. So to wrap that up for Travis, be prepared to change course. Your job, your life is not dedicated to going to the bar and hanging with the homies. There's other shit out there, bro. Go look and see, and if you don't like it, come back and figure out a way to make the bar fun. But go do other things for a second.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I think he stopped drinking for health reasons, but I'm not sure. He's not like somebody that had like wild out or something.
Oh, okay.
But,
that's even better.
But I'm a real big fan of picking a new vice.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's other things you can do besides drink.
But name one.
Weed.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like you can change lanes.
Because and that's the other thing that we need to kind of, as a society, figure out how to say, if you don't drink but you get high, if you don't drink but you take mushrooms once a month or whatever people do. The traditional thing of sober, where it's like I don't touch the stuff, and I go to meetings and at the Y, and I drink coffee and I talk about what happened. Some people are like, found out alcohol doesn't work for me, but guess what? Having some mushrooms at the beginning and end of every summer has made me closer to my kids. I don't know why it works. It works for me. That's going to be your schedule. But like, can that person say they're sober? I guess not, but they are.
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, it's California sober.
Right. Yes.
I mean, I have for so long, I have wished that like weed was my friend. It's just never been the case. Like I wish that I could have as good a time, or like I mean, I have severe anxiety problems with weed. So like I can't be in public on weed at all.
Could you be over here at this house?
Because if I wasn't driving,
of course. Yeah. I would take care of you, but that would be my Super Bowl. It's just to be around.
But I become like, Al, I don't know if I swallowed enough saliva in the last hour. How do I check if I swallowed enough saliva? Like I can feel my heartbeat in my toe. Like I can't keep it together.
I've been around a few people like that a couple times in my life, and I've smoked weed around a lot of people throughout my 45 years on this planet. But there have been a couple where I realized that they're so paranoid that as a black man they might get me jammed up. Like there's been a couple times where, like, one time I remember me and my buddy, I guess I can't even say his name, but we didn't do anything. It was hilarious. But we were we were doing a comedy show in this like small town in Illinois, and we had smoked. Ramon was like this big kind of teddy bear Mexican dude, and he just liked to talk philosophy all night and just smoke and talk. I love hanging out. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And this is like a thing where like people had like apartments above the comedy club, because I think it was kind of like a low budget, whatever. And we smoked, and I'll never forget Ramon's laying. I shouldn't say his name.
Well, you said it like 4 times.
Did I?
There's a lot of Ramones in this world.
Yeah, Ramon, whoever. So my homie is laying. I remember looking at him. He was laying flat on his back, staring at the ceiling, talking about his plans in the next few years. And the girl was sitting on the couch. I was already laying on my twin bed, and she just goes, "What are you guys planning?" Like out of nowhere.
Oh.
And we were just like, excuse, like, and I'll never forget. Like as I went down the hall and got the guy that was running things, I was like, "You need to come get her."
Yeah,
because we were just sitting in the room, and then all of a sudden, whatever shifted in her brain, she just saw 2 men of color that like. They're
plotting.
Trying to trick me. He got into his pajamas. That's the signal. Like, he was literally laying in those 2, like, Clark Griswold pajamas. But, yeah, so it's like, weed is like it wouldn't be with you, but, like, with certain people, when they say, I get paranoid, I think they really mean it. It's like when somebody says I shouldn't drink tequila, and you're like, drink it. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, there's been several times, I do try and take edibles to go to sleep, but mostly because there's been, I couldn't even count the amount of people that are like, pick a new drug, Corinne, Ambien's not for you.
Right. Does weed just not do it?
No, it makes me, the edible doesn't make me anxious necessarily, but it makes me so thirsty for the entire next 10 hours. So I can't even fall asleep because I need more water, and then I have to go to the bathroom, and it's just problematic. But I like a combo. So
there we go.
5 milligrams.
There we go. Little tiny scientist every night. There we go. Yeah. Let's see what will be the mixture.
Listen, last night I needed a tranquilizer gun. Nothing was working. I redosed my Ambien 4 hours into the night.
And you still, I mean, have you talked to a doctor about this? It seems like you have hyper.
No, but this doesn't. This only happened because I OD'd on chocolate and I had too much caffeine in my system. The caffeine fought the Ambien and the caffeine won. This is my working theory of what went down. Speaking of what went down, I have the craziest story. I'm going to leave out the names of anybody involved.
I've been waiting for this.
But this is what happened. I'm going to try and tell this, like, it's going to sound like I'm describing, like, a Scooby-Doo antic. Like, it doesn't make sense that this actually happened, but this is really what happened. So my friends and I got a table at, like, an awesome Hollywood nightclub for New Year's Eve.
Okay.
And that was, like, perfect. It was extremely VIP. Like, the barrier to entry was big.
I'm trying to picture this. How many of it is you total? When you say
Within my crew?
Yes.
There were 5 or 6 of us.
Okay.
No, 5. Yeah, 5 of us. So we got like penthouse suites in a hotel across from the venue where and we got a driver despite the fact that it was only across the street, because if we wanted to go to an after party, which if you don't know anything about LA, the actual club is just a piece of the night. What you need is a solid after party, especially on something like New Year's. So my friend that was taking us, who got the table, was like, I'm paying for the table. I'm paying for the suites. Like, your only job is to figure out after hours. And I'm like, ooh. I haven't lived here. I haven't been in LA in 3 years. Like, I did know people. I was hobnobbing. I was trying to, like, figure out where something might be. So me and this other girl were doing the same thing. And so we're, like, coming together once in a while, like, you know, every 30 minutes or so. I'm like, I got this, but I don't think it's super solid. And then she comes to me. She goes, I got it. I was like, okay. And she goes, we're going to Michael Jackson's death house. And I was like, fucking don't know what that is, but I'm in. She's like, it is what it sounds. It's where he died. And I was like, that sounds amazing. So we get the address of where we're going. The club, everything starts shutting down at like 1:30, 1:45 in LA. So we're like ready. We've got the driver all, we don't have to get an Uber, nothing. Great. We load up into the SUV.
Where are you in terms of intoxication at this point in the evening?
Unfortunately, it takes a lot for me to get drunk. And I had a bottle in front of me that was like literally for me. Like we got this bottle of bourbon, Basil Hayden, because that's what I was going to drink. But you see, I had been partying for too many days straight. And what happens is my body's like, nah. Like, we're used to this now. So I was like pretty sober, which is actually bad, which contributes to how come I was the most scared of everyone. So we get out of the car and it's, okay, so it is we looked it up. It's an $18.1-ish million house. It is where Michael Jackson died. When we get to the front of the house, there's a call box, but there's no one else around. So I was like, this is not the right address. This can't be right. But because we can look, you can Google Michael Jackson death house, and the address that we were at is the address. So like it was the right place. So we push a button on the call box and the double gates just open, but there's no one there.
This is like Black Mirror.
Very. And so we walk in and I'm like trepidatious just because like, so the whole entire front of this, I'll try and do my best to explain this. It's like pieces of cobblestone. In between that are pieces of really green grass, like those kinds of driveways, which is a fucking nightmare for heels.
But it's fancy though. That's
extremely fancy. But it's impossible to get through. Like your heel ends up in the grass. Like I was like on my tippy toes, but still I was like missing. Like it was like challenging to get. So we then a figure.
I don't know if grown women were meant to be there.
Yeah. So a figure appears, and it's this like older guy, very lovely. He's the person that gave my friend the address, and he doesn't say anything though. He's not like the bar is this way. We walk in, and they kept everything exactly as it was when Michael was there. So there's a grand piano, there's the library, and like everything just looks museum-like and untouched. And again, there's no one in this fucking house. There's no one there.
When you say no one, you mean no one.
Just the one figure that approached that was like, he gave the pretty girl in my group the address. And
now, what's his breakdown? Race, age, demo?
So he's
what does
white,
he look like?
And he's probably mid-50s. He's short. He looks like maybe he could be somebody's agent.
Okay.
But nevertheless, now we're in the home. And by the way, we told our car service he could go, we'll give him like 10 minutes heads up when we need him back. But like he's released, like he can, we don't need him to sit in front. Anyways, at no point is this gentleman like.
By the way, I hope you said you're released to the driver. They love that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so we ended up. So all right. So now we're in this house, and we go all the way through, and then we hit. It's like a precipice. We're like on. like high up. There's a huge amount of stairs that lead up to where we're already standing. And they go down to this pool, this gorgeous pool house. And all of a sudden, the music kicks on. Again, no one is here. The music kicks on and the fountains start going and the lights start going. And so I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, I can see that this like could be a party, but unless we're partying with his ghost, there's no one fucking here. And I also don't know where the bar is. And I don't feel comfortable rifling through Michael Jackson's things. Like, I don't know where anything is. So I'm like looking at my friend and I'm like, hey, like, I think we should probably wrap this up. Like, why don't you give, the driver a call? And so he's like, this is creepy. And like,
so no one was like, let's stay.
No. And honestly, when the fountains went on, it sounded, I thought it was going to be like, we're hunting the most dangerous game on the planet. Man, go. Like, I was like, it sounded like a paintball gun when like the fountain started. So I was like, we got to get the fuck out of here. This is creepy as shit. So he calls the driver and the driver's like, and I should mention, so on the entry point to this house, there was a sign that says like danger Rottweilers. And I happen to be very afraid of dogs. Now, there was no barking. I thought, my Jewish father has a sign up that says like danger dog and we have a Shih Tzu, like that's 15 years old. So I was like, it's probably just like I don't hear anything. All right. So I'm like, we got to go. Call the driver. He calls the driver. The driver's like, I can be there in like 5 minutes. I'm like, great. Let's start making our way back to the front. I don't know where this mysterious middle-aged guy went. I mean, I didn't see him again.
You never saw him again.
Well, eventually, I didn't see him. And no one else is on premise. It's already well past 2 a.m. There's no after hours here. They just gave the address to the one girl in my party. Probably thought she was coming by herself. I don't know. But I was like, we got to go. Oh. Everyone agrees we got to go. All right. So we're in the front and we cannot get the gate. The driver's on the other side of the gate. The driver's pushing the same call box. We can see him through the slit in the gate. However, now they're not opening. The person whoever granted us access is not opening the gate. And we are trapped inside this home. So I am now like, I am doing like no. This is not good. And I'm now frantically looking for a kill switch. Like, how do we get out? And then all of a sudden, one of the other dudes in my party goes, fuck. And I look up and on the horizon, I swear to God, like outlined by like fog, is 4 massive fucking dogs.
Shut your
face. And I hear the low growl from one of them. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I didn't know what to do because we're cornered and they're going to just fucking maul us. I mean, that's the whole danger Rottweilers fucking signage. And I'm like, so one of my friends is trying to jump the fence, but it's very high and it's not like one of those chain link fence where you can like wedge your feet in. It's just all wood. So he's a tall guy, but he can't launch himself over, which even if he did, we still didn't know any kind of code. Somebody still has to open these fucking gates. So I am like panicking. I'm pushing all of these buttons and like, it's very escape room-ish. I've never done an escape room, but I'm assuming this is what it would feel like. And so eventually, the dogs are on the horizon and like doing that low growl. And it's just like at any moment, they're just going to come for us. And then this fucking middle-aged white guy reappears and he's like, you're looking for the kill switch? Because that's what I was like, I had taken the top of the box off, like trying to, there's got to be a kill switch. There always is. And he's like, it's right here. And he opens it and then he like puts his hand up so that the dogs don't come after us and lets us leave. But I was like, we came so close. And so both my heels had platform on the bottom. It's kind of hard to explain, but, and they're like my favorite pair of heels. I've had them for a while. Broke both my fucking heels. Because at that point, I was not regarding the cobblestone versus the grass. I was just running. And oh my God. I was like, yeah, I thought for sure this is the end. This is the most embarrassing death of all time. At Michael Jackson's house. Not even a child.
I wouldn't say it'd be embarrassing. I'd be like, that's the only way that you would have to go out. Because you can't go out like any kind of, I choked on my sandwich at Panera Bread. Like, no.
He was inhaling Parmesan cheese.
Yeah, it's going to be at Michael Jackson's house. Now, a couple of questions. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to try and channel questions that maybe the viewers have for that story. The guy that came back out for the kill switch and the guy that initially opened the door for you, was he the guy that you think wanted to hook up with your friend, or was he like an employee?
He wasn't giving hookup vibes at all. I mean, he didn't like I'm saying, we walked in and he wasn't even like, here are the roofies and the bar are over here, nothing. I assume we think he's the one that bought, because the house was recently turned over and he chose to keep all of the relics that were Michael's. So I mean, first of all, he's probably a Michael super fan, which is always a dicey area to be in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was legitimately very concerned. And then because I was I would say the most sober of everyone, but I looked like there was, I wish I had the footage. I asked him and he's like, I don't have it. The one that was like, oh shit, was one of our guy friends who he is a like very fabulous gay man, and he took his phone out and started filming, and I was like, what are you doing?
Right.
We don't have time for this. Like, it always strikes me as weird when people like in a crisis, like a tsunami or whatever, they're like filming. He was like, I don't know, we need some, verification of what
Proof
the fuck
that
happened
we were
before
here.
a dog ate my face.
Oh my God. It's just such a strange story. And the fact that, like, if he invited her over for after hours, what I would do if I had Michael Jackson's house, and let's say I had fixated on you, like, okay, I want to hang out with her. What I would do is be like, hey, Corinne's friends, look at the game room. There's a Ferris wheel down there.
God.
We're going to be upstairs checking out the...
No, he really, like, I'm not sure what I think what was later assessed, not by me, but by other people at my party, was that there was an attempt made, but poor, to having an after hours, which is why he kicked the music on, the fountain. Like, he was thinking people would come, but no one except us did, which made us uncomfortable, which made us leave immediately.
Right.
But he was like, obviously, that's an incredible house. Like,
you know what you got to do? If that's you got to call up, because you can throw some money at Google, have them change it from Michael Jackson Death House to like cool new rich guy's house, and then you bring people over at night. They won't like, cool. No one will know that's Michael's house. Just take down the regular stuff. But yeah, and by the way, my just the best way to end that story is when you told me that you had to tell me about the story via text. I glanced at the message and I thought you said you did an escape room with the theme of Michael Jackson's house. I did not know you were at Michael Jackson's house.
Actual house. Yep, actual house.
What was I think? Only you would actually be there.
Yeah, so we failed our assignment in finding a good after party, which just goes to show you, I've aged out of the market. It's time for me to just relinquish my crown, and now I live in Denver, and I do shitty Denver things, like go to breweries and complain about the weather.
We're trying to convince Travis that there's life after the nightclub, and then you're like, look, you win. I'm dead inside. Are you happy? I'm home at 9, you squares.
Well, I have one more question that was posed on the Facebook group that
I love this.
I thought you might like, because we're talking about, like what made my entire holiday and New Year, it's like the people, right? Like the friends I surround myself with. That's like my most important factor. I have handpicked everybody that's in my life at this point, right? Trim the fat.
And she bases that on whether they're white or not. I'm just kidding.
Listen, 2 of the people I was with on New Year's Eve were black. Okay, so this is from Matthew. He said, how do you dump a friend group? Over the past year, I've befriended a group of 3 girls who I feel I've given a lot of my time and energy towards. New Year's Eve really hurt me tonight. I waited in line to get into the bar for an hour before paying $90 for a line leap just to hang out with them. The second they saw me, 2 of them ran the other way. The third one said it was girls' night, and that's why they didn't talk to me. It really dampened my New Year's Eve, I would imagine so. Just because it's a girls' night doesn't mean you get to be rude to someone who clearly considered you a friend. Clearly, these 3 girls are not my friends and deserve some sort of painful comeuppance revenge. Any advice on ending my relationship with them / revenge ideas would be really appreciated. And Happy New Year, everyone.
Normally, I'd say walk away, but when somebody mentions the word revenge more than 3 times in an email, we got to give them some advice. And I'm thinking we could just go old school. And depending on how deep those pockets are, or if you got a friend or 2 that's got some money, I think that maybe you have a big blowout celebration of some sort.
Oh.
Make sure to put that all over your IG. And
no. I mean, for sure you invite them, and then when they get there, you go, what are you doing here? Like that invitation. Like,
he can't invite them. A third party has to.
Yeah, it was an accidental.
Then they realize they're oversold.
An invitation. I will tell you a little ditty. My mom, who we all have established, has like crazy insane rules. She had a rule when I was a kid. I was not allowed to play in groups of 3. Period. End of story. Wasn't allowed. And the reason she had for that is if there's a group of 3 people, one person is always left out. 3 is a bad number. So I could play, if I wanted to have friends over, I could have 3 friends over, so there were 4 of us. But I could never just have 3 girls because in my mom's opinion, 3 girls means always there's going to be 2 that merge closer and one person's getting left out. It's not equal distribution.
Well, your mom has never seen a couple categories on X Hamster.
Well, so what I say to thee is you figure out who the weak link of the 3 girls is, and that's who you infiltrate. And you start hanging out with her separate from the other 2. You got to break the 3 up. You got to figure out where that is.
Wow. I like that you're, yeah. And honestly, see, I'm old school with it. I think if he just has, he's got to have a time in which everybody in all his friend groups know that he's celebrating something. I don't care what it is. Make it up, bro. Your 27th birthday, your 6th month straight at this job. Blow it out. Get a friend and like don't blow your pockets out. But like somebody. We all know somebody like, oh, my uncle. He cleans floors in the Empire State Building. He can get the roof access for an hour. Whatever. Make it cheap, but like blow it out and just let them know. Like have a third party. Give them a soft invite. Like, hey, Corinne just wanted to let you know this is probably gonna go down, but wait for confirmation, and then that wait. Right up until, make them text, make them be like, hey, we want to know, should we get dressed? We're getting dressed. We're just going to come down. We haven't heard from you. Maybe your phone's not with you.
Yeah.
And then when they get down there, you haven't done anything wrong. Because like like they can be mad at you if you lure them down there saying, come down and then you can't come. That's whack. What you do is you just make them come. Let their compulsion for like not having FOMO.
Yeah.
Bring them there. And then that's when you drop the dagger.
For sure, and for sure you don't let them in. I will tell you, when I was doing my Amazing Race premiere party, my partner Eliza lives in New York City and she wanted to do it in New York. I could care less. At that point I had lived in Denver for like 4 months. So sure, let's do it in New York. And she's like, okay, like who are you gonna invite? And I was like, oh, everybody. So I sent this email to exes I hadn't talked to in years, not because I want them to come, not because they're gonna come. Because I wanted them to know I did The Amazing Race and nobody watches that fucking show. So, like, I started getting responses from people like, hey, I'm not sure if you meant to send this to me. And so, like, depending on that, I would respond like, oh, sorry, my assistant just sent it to everybody in my address book. But I just wanted them to know.
Sometimes the Wi-Fi on my private jet makes it distribute to everybody in my contacts. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. I got to talk to my publicist about that. Yeah. So something along the lines of.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of somehow getting the invite to them, whether it's, the invitation or like a third party. And then when they go to clarify or when they arrive, you're like, I'm so sorry, I don't have you on the list.
Oh, you see? Mm-hmm. And it's just don't give them the leverage of you being emotional, because if you're angry, you give that power dynamic away. They're like, see, she's just mad. He's just mad about this thing.
Yeah.
But if you, oh my, ladies, I try to tell him a soft invite because I knew you probably wouldn't get in.
Yeah.
But you keep saying like invites. You just like, but you say like really, because that's where I shine, Corinne. I never yell. I'm on the spectrum. I think I can't yell. But what I can do is find something that I know will hurt you and say it in the nicest way. Like, I told him not to invite you because I knew like you probably didn't have the dress code they needed, but it happened, so that's why you can't get in. But I was worried you didn't have enough money. Like, you just say the most insulting things.
I knew you wouldn't have anything to wear. I didn't want to like put that kind of pressure on you.
I didn't. I mean, look at the last 2 girls that went in, and like, what are you going to walk in behind that? Of course not. Like, I have something. Okay, this ranks as one of my like top 5 worst moments of things that have happened to me in front of a nightclub. And that includes being punched in the stomach by a cab driver. But in this case, we were really young. It was me and my very best friend, Julie. We were in New York City, and we had fake IDs, and like I had, I was like running with like a Yankee player and this and that. And I had us into certain places. Like I knew the doorman because at the time the person I was dating was, a baseball player. And so like when I would what time around this? What year-ish?
Good question. This would be 1999.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were fucking around in New York City, and like because I was going to places with him, when I would go without him, they would still let me in. But it was an extension of because of him. And I was underage, but using like the crappiest fake ID of all time. Well, anyways, I get to the front door, and the doorman looks at me, looks at Julie, and goes, you can come in, she can't. But the way that he said it made her feel like she was like not like up to standards to like I was like, motherfucker, you could have just said we both can't come in. Like, why did you have to ruin her night like that? Like, and it was, she's beautiful. It was like an unnecessary shitty thing. So now I throw to you. You got 3 girls here, and I've already told you 3 equals catty. Maybe one of them gets in. You know what, sweetie? You're dressed well. You guys should probably go somewhere else. You know, like, one gets in.
And you have to, to sweeten it, because it's easy to like, oh, we're the 3 Musketeers and we're going down together. If one can't get in, we all can't get in. Nah, Doc.
Yeah.
The one that you arbitrarily pick and be like, oh, you come in and just like, I think that designer's actually here tonight, so we'll put you in his suite, VIP. Just let us know what you're drinking now so we can have your bottle ready. Unless you want to go with your friends.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna see who's friends, dog. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's
yeah, you do have to figure out how to flip the script here. Yeah.
I feel like
we're giving out solid advice today.
Yeah, but also it goes deeper than that. I was just listening to this conversation we had and how easily our low-level evil flowed with each other. If you turned our evil up like 2 notches, we could be like we could definitely make like FBI's 10 Most Wanted easy. We can crack 7 with just a couple crimes. We really put the pedal to the metal. We can make it like 2, but then after that, it's like cartel people.
Yeah,
we're not gonna catch them. But
I would like to give you one more little story from my whole holiday week.
It's not going to be the cab driver punching you in the stomach.
We'll save that.
We'll save that unless you want to give us that nugget. Unless you want me to walk around with a week. Like, how did that happen?
I forgot I said that. Yeah. Okay. So this is the reason why the second Uber was invented. I never went back to cabs. But so I was in a cab and I was sitting behind the driver. My friend was to my right, and my other friend was in the passenger front seat.
Gotcha.
My 2 friends, we get in front of the club. My 2 friends take a right to get out. I take a left. All of a sudden, the driver, we had no contact with this driver. We were not drunk. We were not talking to him. It was just a short cab ride. I open the door to get out, and he also opens his door. And I was like, oh, maybe, because they're so gross in here. Like, I was like, maybe he has to spit. Maybe he's dumping his fucking urine out. I don't know what he's doing. I wasn't really paying attention, which is the problem. All of a sudden, he just sucker punches me in the stomach. I'm doubled over. I'm screaming. My 2 friends who got out on the other side are like, what happened? Like, did you slip? Like, they didn't understand what was going on because they were on the other side of the vehicle. But because we were in the front of the club, the doorman, and several other people, like, no one had camera phones at this time. They all, like, people wrote down the license plate because he took off after he hit me. So I was like, I mean, I wasn't prepared.
By the way, those are camera phones in 1999. Just people sketching what he looked like.
Yes.
Stick figure.
Like, it took 3 people to compile the license plate. They're like, I got the first 2 digits. Do you have the last 2? So I had all the information. I go into the club and I was like, oh, I'll get this motherfucker. And so I contact the Taxi and Limousine Commission. I give them his plate number. I explain that there's several witnesses. I have their phone numbers. I was punched in the stomach. I want this guy taken off the streets. Like, I didn't actually seek any, like, damages, but I just thought you'd want to know if some fucking schizophrenic maniac is going around punching people. And they were like, oof, we're going to need you to file that report by coming down to Staten Island. And they made it impossible.
Of course they did.
And they were like, once you've filed the report in Staten Island, you're then going to have to return to Brooklyn for the hearing. And then, I mean, they completely made it impossible to
And they wouldn't tell you that unless they knew you weren't going to do it.
No one goes to Staten Island for anything.
Right.
Never. Unless you're dumping a body, you don't go to Staten Island. That place is disgusting.
Or you're...
And also, I don't have a car. I live in New York. Like,
They know you're not doing that. They're like, oh, it's just another drunk girl that wants to press charges. Like, yeah, we'll see you in the morning, buddy.
At no point were they like, are you okay? Like, anything. No.
It was that, but that's how companies really want to be. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm so resentful when companies now are like, come to, Bank of America where we treat you like family. You come in here. They don't feel like that. No. I like it when it was in the late 90s when you were honest. Like, yo, if you're late, $33 fine. Yeah. Overdraft fee, you broke, bitch. Mm-hmm. Then it's this much. I don't like this fake
forgiveness,
Panera Bread approach to, like, consumerism now. It's like, hey, welcome on in home. Mm-hmm. When you stay at Holiday Inn, you're not. You're in a home. You're in a bed, which hundreds of gross people have done everything in. Every single thing. You all know. Yes. We all know what goes on in there. So stop telling me it's like home. Just let's not play that game. Now, I need to know.
Yeah.
What kind of punch was it? Now, was it the like where the like your thumb would be pointing up to you because it's kind of like an uppercut stomach punch,
No,
or was
I
it
felt
straight?
It was a jab.
A straight jab
Yeah,
down?
and he hit me right in the
body
stomach.
jab?
Yeah. It was bizarre. Obviously, I wasn't even really looking up. I was like getting out of the car and I noticed him open the door. I thought that was weird. And then as soon as I got far enough from the door, he just went for it.
Wait, okay. There's been nobody addressed him.
No.
Was anybody saying anything in the car that he could have felt was racial or something?
No speaking, nothing. And we were just like 22-year-old pretty girls. And
right.
I mean, there was no, and he very obviously was waiting to see that the other two were going to go out the right side and like waited for them to be like, so that they weren't seeing it from inside the vehicle. They had closed the door. I'm exiting. It was very.
Was he trying to get you back in the car?
I have no idea. And he did it in front of a very crowded nightclub. Like the line was full. The doorman is out front with his clipboard. Like it was not a great place to do it. But he didn't, no, because once he punched me, he got right back in the car and took off. So I don't know. He gets off on punching women.
Maybe he didn't understand. You know, like in the third grade in playground, boys like pull girls' hair and hit him in the shoulder. Maybe he just didn't know
assault.
people didn't do that past the third grade. Now it's just
perhaps.
like punching a woman. That's, and a body jab at that. That's the craziest thing. Mm-hmm. And now it's the things where you don't have a resolution. It's like if somebody sucker punched me, didn't take my wallet, didn't yell a racial epithet, didn't take my keys, just did it and walked away, I would think about that forever. Whereas if they took my wallet, they'd be like, thank you.
Yeah,
Now I don't have to think about it. I got mugged.
Nope. We paid and tipped him in cash because back then they the credit card machine was always broken.
Oh, God. That was the running joke in New York, a credit card machine. All right.
So we paid him in cash. We settled that out, and we were all exiting the vehicle, and that's when this happened.
See, that's the thing you didn't understand. Where if you take some time to invest in, like, learn about him, where he's from, the way that you say goodbye to a very pretty lady is a body jab. Yeah. All right? Maybe if you had more culture.
Right. If I had seen more of the world, I would understand the customs.
Yeah, that is, I think that's
so the
craziest thing I've heard from you in a long time.
Yeah, well, yeah. We just got to record more. But I grew up with like a healthy like fear of everything because both my parents are New Yorkers and they just like they believe everyone's after you all the time. Like that's just the way it is. Like don't trust anybody, which is like a terrible way to be. So interestingly, this was the other story I was going to tell you. So one of my friends when we were out in Manhattan Beach, she's drinking and she forgets her purse at the table that we were at. Okay. Terrible mistake, obviously. But luckily, one of our other friends decided not to go home with the rest of us. He's younger. He was like still ready to get after it. Mm-hmm. He stays. She calls him. She's like, can you please grab my purse? He goes to the table. It's sitting right there. Great. Well, the next day, we all reconvene and he lost the purse that he found. So what happened is apparently he went to the bathroom and because he doesn't usually carry a purse and he was drinking, he uses the urinal, puts the purse like wherever, and then just forgets the purse. And so like when we're all like, she's telling me the story because I hadn't seen.
She's like, thank God he has my purse.
Yeah, like thank God he was there. She's like, my passport's in there.
Oh, no.
It's my favorite new purse from Italy. Like I was like, great. Where's the purse? And she goes, I don't know where it is. And so she calls him because he was staying in like the guest room, and he was gone by the morning. And she's like, where's the purse? And he's like, is it not there? So it turns out. The purse didn't make it home with him, okay? Now, she doesn't freak out, which is so crazy to me. She says the following. She goes, well, they have my passport. They'll find me and DM me to give it back to me on Instagram. And I was like, what fucking fairy tale do you live in? It's your I go, you need to cancel the credit cards. She had like $250 in cash, which that's gone. Who cares? But I'm like, all you care about right now is the passport. Somebody else having your passport is a big deal. And she goes, they'll find me. She's not even a little pressed. And by the way, she needs that passport for the New Year's Eve club. Oh. This is the night before New Year's. We're like bumming around all day, whatever, like order some food in. All of a sudden, she goes on Instagram. She goes, oh, there it is. The person is like, hi there. I found your purse and your passport. I had to reach out to a few different people to get to you. I only live about 15 minutes from the bar. I would be happy to give it back to you. And I was like, so immediately I go, first of all, I'm so frustrated that her Pollyanna approach to life worked.
It's annoying.
But then I am still doing the Dale and Fred Kaplan shtick, which is, yeah, she has your passport. She don't have your $250. She don't have your really nice Italian purse or any of the other shit that was in your purse. You're getting the passport back. And she's like, no, it's my fault. I left it there. And I was like, you're way too calm about this.
Yeah. Stop accepting responsibility.
Then she goes, well, I'm very hungover. I don't want to get it right now. And I was like, oh my God, go get your passport, you lunatic. She's like, nah, she's going to give it back to me. She waits all day. At like 6 p.m., she's like, all right, I'm just going to swing by there before I get ready for New Year's. I'm like, we're now butting up against, about to check into a hotel to stay for New Year's Eve.
Oh, my God.
So, all right, so she goes, oh, every dollar of the $250 is there. It's all there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, now, what city was this in?
Happened in Manhattan Beach.
Yeah, there's money there.
But like,
that's the only.
It was the wildest thing. I was like, that would never happen to me. No one would return anything to me.
I've never gotten anything back.
No.
You go to Lost and Found, like, yeah, we don't have it. Oh, you don't? Okay.
Well, this prompted me to tell the worst story of all time, which I have told on a previous podcast. So forgive me if you're a already listener or whatever you call it. You'll listen to this before you're going to hear it twice because Al's never heard it. And this is the story I told her.
And I got to hear the term already listener.
Yeah. So I used to go to Salt Lake City for work all the time, and I used to work out at the Orange Theory there. And when I was at the Orange Theory one day, it was cold outside. I'm wearing a coat. I have my rental car. I'm checking in at the front desk. They have one of these things where it's like a wall of keys. You just put your key on a hook, and there's a number, and you go, okay, I guess I'm number 8. That's where my car keys are. Because most people just show up with nothing but their car keys, and then they give you a towel. You go inside. All right. Well, I'm standing there. I have to fill out some stupid paperwork because I'm like, I've never been to this particular Orange Theory, and I have to like fill out the waiver, whatever it is.
Please don't drop dead on the treadmill.
Yeah. So I'm like, whatever. I'm signing out some stuff, and I see what I thought were my keys on the right in front of me. They're literally just right in front of me.
Right.
So I don't think anything about it. And so I put them in my pocket. I go work out. As I'm on the treadmill, the class starts. I see a kerfuffle in the front. This woman is freaking out, okay? And she's doing it in like the sweet Mormon Utah way where she's not yelling at anyone, but like her keys are not there. So they come into the room and they're like just checking the treadmills to see if maybe she put it in the console. She can't find the keys. And I'm like, that sucks. That totally sucks. Well, when I go to leave, I put my jacket on. I dig my hands into the pockets. I have 2 keys.
Ooh.
I've got the rental car and another set. And I realize immediately I'm the bitch that took the keys because she didn't put them on the key rack thing. They were just sitting on the counter in front of me. But I think to myself, I don't want to like ruin my reputation at this place. And like, this sucks. Like her husband had to come get her with the second set of keys. They're probably both late to work. Like it was a shit situation and it's completely my fault. Well, partially her. She should have put it on the keyboard.
You live and you learn.
Okay. But I don't know what to do because I want to give her the keys back, but I don't want to face the situation. So I look at the keychain and on the keychain is a Core Power Yoga key card.
Right.
So I drive 20 minutes away to this other yoga studio. And I'm like, hi there. Could you scan this in and see if this belongs to someone who's still at this gym? And they were like, yeah, it's, Sally Henderson or whatever, And I go, oh, great. I found these. Just want to give them back. So this bitch must have been like, how the fuck did my keys go from? I parked my vehicle at Orange Theory and they mysteriously, but I was like, I want her to get them back, but I don't want anything to do with this.
You remember when I said not less than 10 minutes ago that if you and I's evil was turned out, we could be a great crime duo. Mm-hmm. You found this woman's keys in your pocket. And instead of Corinne saying, you know what, thank God, I can make her day by bringing these keys to her, your first thought was, let me plant some evidence in another location.
I just was like...
And then absolve myself.
I mean, I was going to just drop them in the parking lot and like hope someone else found them. But I was like, no, that's like irresponsible. Let me tell you, I dropped and ran like I was delivering a fucking package with anthrax. Like I was like,
oh my goodness.
You have her in the system? She still goes here? Great. Let her know that the keys are here. Bye.
But the fact that your brain went there is why I love you. And why we're going to wrap it up there because we love you.
But also, my safe word is moreadvice@gmail.com if you would like us to attack some of your social problems.
And we will always be real. And I think that's the best thing you can promise people is like, there's a little bit of distance there so we can be honest. We don't have to see you at Thanksgiving like, hey, sorry to tell you to break up with her, dude, but you need to. We can give it to you straight. And like we always say about medicine, yeah, we could throw some sugar to make it taste better, but it's better when it goes down straight. So you always come here for that straight advice. You always come here to my safe word is more. You always go to where, Corinne, to find you on social media?
Corinne Sanity on Instagram and Twitter, and at Corinne Kaplan on TikTok. How about you, Al?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Al Jackson, on Instagram at Al Jackson IG. Live tour dates on aljacksonlive.com. We love you guys. Puff of Smoke. We out.